This is Mr. Minnick helping my students with using variables worksheet number 1 in our Visual Basic class. Be sure to read the directions here, but even more important is to realize that this worksheet is based on the store demo program, which can be found on our website. Right here, Unit 2, Demo Programs. Click that link, or you might have it as a handout. And here is the program that this worksheet refers to. The customer can input a number into the text box for TXT donuts. They then click a button and the program computes the cost of purchasing those donuts with tax included, and the output shows up in this label, and that's it. So be sure to refer to objects with these names that are specifically typed out here, especially TXT donuts and LBL total cost. Also, here's a surprise. This store demo program webpage actually has all of the answers to the worksheet embedded inside of it. So as long as you read this webpage and understand this section, especially here, you should then have the correct answers on your homework here for using variables worksheet number 1. Let's give you a little bit of help, but not too much help. Number 1, a declaration statement. Declaration statements always begin with the keyword dim, and then there's a name of a variable or a constant. Oh, I already messed up. In this case, I didn't read far enough, you see. In this case, the declaration statement is for a constant, not a variable. Because it's a constant, we begin our declaration statement with const. For variables that you see down here in problem 3, they always begin their declaration statements with the word dim. Now furthermore, the name of the constant is provided to you, and constants for good style are always typed out in uppercase letters. So the name of the constant goes there. And then we always have to specify a data type. Well, this question doesn't tell you what the data type should be. It tells you to choose the correct data type. But your choices for data types that we've studied so far in this class are integer and double and string. We may have studied Boolean, although sometimes I teach that later in the school year. So integers for whole numbers, like 2 or 12 or -5. Double is for decimal numbers, like 3.14, and even whole numbers like 5.0, but with the 0.0 specified. And strings are for words, like my name, Minnick. And we always put double quotes around strings when we talk about them. And Boolean, we're not really going to review that right now. So which data type is the one that is being used here? Now let's actually fill in the rest of this answer here. Price per donut is what we just talked about being the name of the constant. And then you just need to type the word as and the data type. Well, the data type has to be one of these 3 things. Since we're already read that the donuts at this store are 75 cents each, you can't use integer as your data type because that only allows whole numbers to be used. It doesn't really make sense for 0.75 to be treated as a string, like a word or text. So that's out. The only other data type, which is the one that stores decimal numbers, like 0.75 is a decimal number, that's the data type that we're using in our declaration statement. And that could be the answer. That could be your final answer there. But it's good style to always set it equal to 0. When you declare something, oh, I'm wrong again. For variables, you almost always initialize them to 0, just like it's emphasized in number 3. But because this is a constant, and constants can't change later in the program, we have to set a constant equal to whatever its final value is going to be. And in this case, I was already told that the price of a donut is 75 cents. So let's just put 0.75 in there. That's correct. So there's your answer for number 1. And let's check out that web page to see if that line of code was already provided. Yes, right there is the statement that became our answer for number 1. In a program, it's good style to put a little comment over here on in the right edge next to that line of code. On this worksheet, I'm not going to require you to put a little comment like that. Okay, let's finish up number 3 since we began number 3. Number 3, we are declaring a variable, and since I already gave you the name, you must carefully copy the name right here. Do not put a space in there. Variables cannot have spaces. That's why we capitalize the D, and we call that camel case because of the hump in the word is kind of like the hump of a camel. That makes it easier to read rather than all lowercase letters. And what data type would we use for number of donuts? Well, we need the word as, and we need to put a data type here. Well, your 3 data types are still written up here. When somebody buys donuts, you have to think about this now. When somebody buys donuts at a store like Dunkin' Donuts, the number of donuts that they buy, would it be a string? No, it would not be a word. We do not, when we buy 2 donuts, we don't type it into the cash register or something as TWO. No, we would type it in as the number 2. But would we buy 3.14 donuts? We might buy 5.0 donuts, but we would never buy 3.14 donuts. So integer is the logical choice here as the data type. And even though double would still work, because all whole numbers are decimal numbers with a 0.0, using integer saves a little bit of memory because integers use up 4 bytes of memory behind the scenes, and doubles use up 8 bytes. And it's not good to waste memory. It's not good to waste RAM or memory on the computer when a computer program executes. So choosing integer here is best. And I don't like this big gap, so I'm going to put the equal 0 right there, and there's my final answer for number 3. This is a variable, numDonuts. Later in the program, numDonuts will become a bigger number like 3 or 4 or 5, depending on how hungry the customer is when they order donuts. But let's look to see if that answer was provided on this store demo program webpage. Dim numDonuts as integer equals 0. It was right here. So we're finished with 2 exercises. And let's do one more sample exercise. Let's do one of these 3 assignment statements. An assignment statement is a little different from a declaration statement in that it always has an equal symbol, and it always has just one word here, and then the equal symbol followed by potentially a lot of code. What is the variable that we are assigning a number, like say 4? Into what variable is this assignment statement? It always works from right to left. Assignment statements go from right to left. Where is the 4 going to go? Well, look through here and read this. The only 2 things that are mentioned are txt donuts and numDonuts. And in this case, we are putting a number into the variable named numDonuts. So this 4, hypothetically, would go into numDonuts, which is what I just realized we need to put here on the left of the equal symbol. So numDonuts. And what is numDonuts going to be equal to? Well, the number 4 was just my pretend number there, my sample number. Let's read this. Whatever the quantity of donuts that the customer types into a text box named txt donuts. Well, a quantity. It could be the number 4, it could be the number 14. We don't know. but it's going to be typed into a text box, which, just so you can see it here, it's this text box right here where somebody's going to be typing in perhaps the number 4. So that text box is named TXT Donuts. So we need TXT Donuts here, and text boxes almost always need to have .text written after them because that's the name of the property into which the 4 or 14 is being typed. Now this code could be your final answer if you were using an old version of Visual Basic. But in the new, current, better version of Visual Basic, it doesn't help you out. I don't believe it does. In that, whatever somebody types into a text box, the computer automatically treats it as if it were a string. That's just the way it is, even though it's obviously a number. Well, that string, which you can think of as text surrounded by double quotes, cannot go into, it cannot be assigned from right to left, it cannot be assigned into a variable that is an integer. The data type integer does not allow a string to be plugged into it. So what you have to do is you have to first turn it into a number. And that is done by using the val function in Visual Basic. So by typing val parentheses, whatever the customer types in here, whether it's 4 or 14 or 140, that number, that text I should say, that text will have the double quotes sort of ripped off of it or taken off of it. Here's what I'm saying. For some reason I can't erase that. I'm sorry. There you go. So that the double quotes there sort of are taken off of the 4, and now the number 4 can properly be assigned into the variable num_donuts, which we've already emphasized is an integer. Now it works, and there will be no error. We have to remember to use val. Let's see if this line of code was on the handout that I provided to you. Yes, and I explained it right here. Use val to convert the inputted number of donuts to a new number, to a numeric value. This was the line of code that we just used as our answer to number 5. Okay, good luck. You have to do the rest of this worksheet, and hopefully understand what you're doing. You have 2 more assignment statements to write. They will need equal symbols. And you have another 2 declaration statements. This one's a constant, so it'll start with const. This one is for a variable, so it will start with dim. Good luck. You don't have a whole lot of work to do, but I hope you understand it before we move on to the next topic in this class.